Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Taffy, and welcome back to The Binding of Isaac, and we're having a bit of a, I guess, an update today, and since we're having kind of something where I need to concentrate on what I'm saying, I'm going to go ahead and just grab Kane for a fun run. We'll start off with Parasite, which does not show up very often, which is totally cool. So anyway, lots to talk about, and surprisingly, very little of it has to do with Isaac. So I will just kind of focus on getting all this stuff out into the world. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours, and you know, hello. This is a fine enough platform in which to do it. So, first and foremost, my wife had an automobile accident yesterday, which is part of the reason that there's been kind of a precipitous drop-off in the amount of content going up on the channel, and we're gonna get into that a little bit more later on. She's fine. Baby, unnamed baby number 2 is okay. She spent the night in a hospital as a precautionary measure. They wanted to make sure, more than anything, there was the fact that there was an impact, and beyond the impact, I should have totally used the bomb down here. Beyond the impact, there was the airbag deployment, so they were just terrified that, you know, they didn't want to go into a situation where, you know, she had hurt the fetus or torn the placenta or anything like that. So, Jiminy Christmas, that was kind of closer than I'd like it to be. So we sat in the hospital for a good long time while the doctors were overly cautious, and I thank them for that. I would rather they were overly cautious than underwhelmingly less thorough. I would rather they took longer to be more thorough. Yeah, longer to be more thorough than quick and sloppy. Especially, you know, when it's my wife and unborn child that are at stake. The car, she ain't coming back. I posted a photograph of the car to Twitter and to Instagram. So if you want to go see it, it is over there. But you know, there are a lot of people that kind of made sure that we were okay and reached out and sent well wishes and everything. So for that, I'd like to thank all of you. The little Denizen is okay. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, that's good. And then in a strange twist of fate, my mother-in-law came to town to help us out, and actually she got rear-ended while going to pick us up some lunch. She thought we might be hungry, and she was driving to go pick up some food because she didn't want my wife to have to cook, because my wife spent the majority of last night in a hospital, laying in a very uncomfortable bed. It was like as long as we've ever been in a hospital and not come home with a child. So my mother-in-law came in, she grabbed Grayson and took him for a sleepover for a couple days, and before she took him out of town, she went to go pick us up some lunch and got rear-ended by a girl that was on her cell phone. And ironically, 2 cops were eating lunch at a little Mexican restaurant that was right at the intersection of the accident and saw the whole thing and saw that the girl was on her cell phone, and excuse me, they were going to cite her. They're going to write her a citation, and she got real flippant and gave them a shit ton of attitude, and so they booked her instead. So if you're ever in the wrong and you're going at it with the police officers, just know that at any point they could ratchet up the heat and just make your life a living hell. So that was gratifying that in this particular case, you know, for once you want a cop there and a cop is there, as opposed to either not wanting to get caught or wanting someone to be like, man, that guy's driving like a maniac. Where are the police when you need them? That one actually worked out pretty well. So obviously they took her away, and they didn't even really record any information for my mother-in-law, whose Saturn, which they don't even make anymore, whose Saturn was 100% fine, and she drove away. So yeah, we've had 2 accidents in 2 days. It's my wife's 2nd accident in about 2.5 weeks, which is uncharacteristic. That's actually the worst part, is that she's normally an incredibly good driver, but she's just had some really bad luck over the last little bit of it. So yeah, you know, basically there have been a lot of people who have been concerned, and I would like to assuage those fears. Everything is fine. Grayson is fine. Doodlebug is fine. Amber's fine. I'm relatively okay. Most of mine's mental instability anyway. Phone's going cray-cray. But yeah, everything's okay. We're working through it. We're down a car, which sucks, but it's not the end of the world. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on today is this sort of YouTube debacle that's going down, that's got all the content creators in hysterics, and kind of what it made me think about and realize with regards to the cave and the denizens. And I needed to say some things and get some stuff off my chest, that I had some recent realizations, and I had to let you guys in on it, because it's stuff's important. It's important because it directly affects everybody who loves this channel, and it's nothing bad. It's just kind of, I'm friends with, or friends of friends with, people that are in the indie game community, like, you know, Omewrecker and Bear Taffy and BizSnap, and to a sort of 6 degrees of separation situation like Rockley Smile and J Smith OTI and Northern Lion and all those guys. And of course everybody is up in arms about the entire YouTube copyright, Google shift. You know, is it the multi-channel networks that have got too greedy and overreached the way that like the mortgage crisis hit a while back, or is it Google and YouTube being hard asses against the very people who make them noteworthy as an entity and corporation? And you know, the correct answer to all these is kind of yes, kind of no. But for us, it made me realize this. It's that I do this. I gotta adjust my mic. My mic is looking a little limp dick right now. There we go. Is that I do this for fun, and it was never drawn into more sharp contrast than by this whole crazy situation. Is that if I get hit with a bunch of copyright strikes, or not strikes, but copyright notices, sort of copyright flags, where they basically say, "Hey Taffy, did you invent the Binding of Isaac?" And I say, "No." And they're like, "Well, then you need to prove that you have permission to display Binding of Isaac as content, and if you don't, then we need to give all this money to Edmund McMillan, because he's the one who actually made the Binding of Isaac." And that's the thing that people are running into right now, is like Blizzard is being... Blizzard, of course, understands that like Hearthstone and StarCraft and World of Warcraft and all those games are only as popular as the people who hawk them. Well, that's not totally true. Before YouTube existed, obviously Blizzard was not having trouble selling copies of their games, because they're an awesome company with that pays amazing attention to detail. But they understood that the more popular they were and the more they were shared, the better off they would be. And so, you know, they've never tried to limit the amount of exposure they could get through the internet, and have gleefully told people blanket policy to monetize their content. So yeah, you know, they've got this vast database that Google does, YouTube does, that searches content and says, "Oh, that matches up with a cutscene from a very large video game like GTA 5. We better flag that the player doesn't own it until we can prove that they do. We better take it off, or at least not let them make money off of it. Or if they do make money, send that money to the people who own GTA 5." So anyway, you know, music, cutscenes, film, television, all that kind of stuff. It's to avoid pirating. It's to avoid well, a couple of things. Companies like Machinima and like Full Screen to a certain extent, and like Polaris, all got a little bit greedy and started kind of signing every channel they could under the sun. It became like, it used to be that being partnered with like Machinima meant something. It meant that you were on the cusp of kind of making it, because all of a sudden you had been noticed by this network that it decided it was worth its time to see what you was and what you was up to. But then after a little while, they all just kind of said, "Yeah, screw it. We'll take everybody, and we'll just skim pennies and dimes off of the little crappy networks." But instead of being able to police the people who made their content, and all the little networks out there that they couldn't possibly hope to police, because they had tens of thousands of channels on this network, and you know, they couldn't vouch for all of them. When you join a big network like Machinima or like Broadband or Makers or Polaris or whoever, you ultimately get relieved of that burden of proof of, "Oh yeah, I completely have the rights to man, this is convoluted. Never really tried to sit down and explain this before. When you joined a network, the point of joining said network was usually to avoid having to explain where and how you got the rights to such and such game. It just was understood that if you had, you know, if you were with this network, that they vouched for you. That was the big draw. I mean, some networks get you better ads put into your videos so that you make more money, but for the most part, the big draw is not having to, and I had this with the Cave. When I first started the Cave and wasn't with a network, I got hassled left, right, and sideways. Like, every time I put a video up, they came to me and just like, did you create The Binding of Isaac? Did you create Trials Evolution? And I was just like, no. And they were like, well, then you can't make money off it. And I was like, but there are 5 million channels out there that are. And they said, well, we don't care. And it's super frustrating, and I can see why people would sign with any size network for any relatively reasonable, and in some cases even really bad revenue shares. I know of some people that are, wow, that was a fast fight. I know of some people that are like giving away the farm with regards to how they share their revenue with big companies, so that sucks for them. But yeah, part of the draw of that was just to not be hassled by YouTube anymore. And now YouTube has forced these multi-channel networks like Polaris and Machinima and everybody, and Broadband TV, and you name it, to designate which channels are managed, which are still the channels that the network vouches for, and which ones are affiliates, which basically have to go back to proving they have the rights to use all this content. And if a managed network channel gets a copyright strike, then at that point the networks can now get their asses just paddled for it with I believe it's like scaling fines, which is not the end of the world, but does suck and could conceivably over time shut a network like Machinima down if they got enough of them. So they got to be really careful about who they vouch for now, and they should have been being careful about it all along. But networks be greedy haters be hating, yo. So I don't know, greeters be greeting. I don't know how that goes. My street cred is long since diminished. So anyway, the point of mentioning all this is because I run in such a specific little clique of sort of indie gamers. It drew into because they are crazy up in arms about this, and I don't. Oh Jesus. I don't blame them, because for a lot of them it's their livelihood, and I mean that's from like Northern Lion size channels down to like my size channels. Like Bear Taffy is a prime example of somebody who works his ass off and is on the verge of doing this full time without having to do much of anything else. They're all up in arms, and I can't move. I don't blame them, because this means a ton to them. And I was wondering why. I was just thinking to myself, man, I don't really feel the sweat coming on this one for me. And why I was thinking about this, and while I was pulling all this together in my head, ultimately what it made me realize is that they could take oh shit. They could take all of the money from the Cave away from me, and I wouldn't freak out, because my living is made through the MrWoofless channel, always has been in a way, and hopefully always will be. That'd be great. And Rob's channel, which is still my home, but Rob's channel and the channel that we started together is the one that we are focusing the majority of our efforts into, and is the one that in the long term is going to take care of us as long as we continue to grow and push the boundaries of what's possible the way that we always have. And so it just, it made me realize that I had been beating myself up lately because I've been missing kind of upload days and struggling to think about what kind of content I wanted to populate the Cave with, struggling with the fact that I hadn't been posting just ridiculously high view videos, and I see all these guys that I hang out with, and I think to myself, man, I want to be like Northern Lion, I want to be like Bear Taffy. And the problem is that I can't do all that stuff. I can't do all that stuff and do the business stuff for the MrWoofless channel. It's physically just not possible. It's not. I would need like I'd have to have like a 17-hour workday, be fresh for the entire 17 hours, to be both mentally acute for business and mentally acute for recording, and physically acute because I'm just so hot. You see what I did there? Okay. All the money that, which is not a ton, but the amount of money that we make that is managing right now to keep us afloat long enough for us to see if we can turn this into something really profitable, comes from Rob's channel. And so that's where my impetus, where my onus, where the majority of my efforts are put. Hello. Jiminy Christ, we're gonna be rolling on Relic or on Spirit Hearts. And I just am not gonna sweat putting that excess pressure on myself here, because this place is for fun and always has been, probably always will be. We are few but fierce as far as the people that populate the channel and the denizens go. And you know, and I'm okay with that. This is just a place for me to play video games, have some people watch, and have some people hang out. And I don't think it's gonna work if I pressure myself into trying to make this into another Total Biscuit, Northern Lion, Ohmwrecker, Bear Taffy channel. I don't think I could do it. I could do it. But I would have to come in at like 7 in the morning every morning, and I would have to go straight to the desk and do like 6 hours of channel work, and then like 7 hours of work for MrWoofless, and you know, maybe stop to eat and maybe stop and see my kids. Whereas now I can kind of come in, get a cup of coffee, leisurely sit down, watch Ohmwrecker play some Hearthstone, watch Bear Taffy's most recent Spelunky run, you know, watch Northern Lion run Isaac, and all those things sound preferable to me. I think I would rather just be a top-rated amateur than to try to force myself onto the scene, and that's part of the reason that I don't think I've pushed very hard. I haven't pushed very hard at all to become like a more visible fixture in that community, because I have most of those guys on Skype, and I've never understood why I've never made more of a stink about, hey, you guys should bring me in, because BizSnap and I had a good time when we recorded that mirror match, and we've said that we would leave the door open, that if anything else came along, we'd be more than happy to sort of check that out and see what happened with that. And I never really pushed very hard for it, and I think it's because I see the level of dedication that these guys put into their work, and I can't in good conscience relate what I do to what they do. And if push came to shove and I had to pick one, I would continue to work with Rob, who's just been one of my best friends for years, and continue to work on the thing that he and I started together back in 2000 and, well, virtually late 2010, then to try and start fresh for the lone purpose being of popularizing myself, or of being more in the spotlight than I am right now, which seems, I don't know. I knew back in the day when we made Rob's name the name on the channel that I wanted him to be the star of the show. I wanted him to be the product we sold, because I was honest with myself at that time and knew that Rob was younger than I was, so he would be easier to sell to a young audience. And you know, I haven't checked the math, but I'm willing to bet that if I ran the numbers again, he would still be younger than me. And B, I didn't know whether or not I'd be sticking around. I thought maybe at some point I would have to duck out, and it was, for me, it was mission accomplished for me the first time Rob did a Call of Duty montage and I was featured in it. That was like, I just wanted to feel like I was a part of this community, even if it meant putting up a Call of Duty montage on a channel with one subscriber that was like my wife, and be like, oh my god, check it out, I'm set to dubstep, throwing a grenade and getting a 5-man feed or something like that. You know, and everything else past that was just kind of like knowing that you'd won a race, or knowing that you'd accomplish something, and just seeing what kind of gravy you could add on to the end. Just kind of, you know, the rest of that was just like style points. And so it was just like, oh, okay, wow, we are YouTube personalities. We have 300 subscribers. That's awesome. Let's see if we can make it 1,000. And then after that, it was like, well, let's see if we can join Machinima. And then after that, it was, well, let's see if we can make Rob famous. And after that, it was, well, let's see if we can make this a job. And it's just always kind of been like, never resting on our laurels, always moving forward. And for the briefest of times, there was part of me that said, oh, if I'm doing this full time, why can't I be a personality too? We'd be like Mitch and Jerome or something, or you know, any of the number of duos out there that kind of exist all over this plane. Why did I pop that in here? It's not like Pride is a particularly difficult fight. Oh, thank God, an overabundance of magician cards. But yeah, I thought about it, and I came to the swift realization that ultimately, I'm not willing to do 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, to make this into essentially a legitimate review channel, which is basically what it would have to be. It'd be like an independent game, Northern Lion, Bear Taffy, Biz Snap. Like, you guys know the channels. You all watch them. We all watch the same channels together, essentially, some days. I just don't know that I have the hours in the day to do what they do. Maybe someday. I'll keep posting content here. I just think I'm going to relieve some of the stress on myself to, like, man, I have to find the next big game, and I have to start doing reviews, and I have to start doing Let's Plays, like a ton of Let's Plays, because I have keys for games that were sent to me for review purposes that I've just never gotten around to playing, and it's not anything where anything happened. I just didn't have the time, and I was beating myself up pretty badly about it. So for the time being, I'm going to kind of try to stick to the streaming schedule, but I am seriously doubting I'm seriously doubting whether or not we'll ever have the numbers that we need to monetize Twitch, and that takes up that's 9 hours a week that I spend, at least 9 hours a week that I spend streaming. Oh man, we're getting our asses kicked in here. That's 9 hours a week that I spend streaming for $0, and we're in a real pivotal time with the other channel, where my time is suddenly super valuable to me. And like I said, it's forced me to take a real long, hard interior look at what my goals are, and it's like, do you want to have a financially rewarding, possibly secure, long-term YouTube career where you're not the focus, or do you want to basically start from scratch on the off chance that maybe you can grow yet a second channel into a man, we are just swimming in spirit hearts, into a place where I would be the star performer, and I would be the personality. And the truth of it is I don't know that I bring enough to the table right now that I would understand why I was trying to sway people to come watch. And that's not really even that depressing to say out loud. It's just I think it's being realistic about where I am with my priorities, and where my I guess where my priorities are aligned is basically the sentence fragment I'm struggling to produce out of my face hole right now. So I don't know. I guess there are a handful of people that I think, if there were any people that were just like, hey Taffy, like posting is kind of sporadic and blah blah blah, and posting's kind of sporadic and you need to vary your content. Nobody's really saying this. It's just kind of, it's how I was judging me, where I was just like, man, I need to get new content, and I've got games. I've got a stack of games to play. But, when it came time, when push came to shove and I had to pick one, I was dropping stuff off the channel and focusing on what Rob and I are trying to build together, and I think that's exactly correct. I think that's 100% has been the goal all along, and if that continues to be true, then I need to not screw with that dynamic just to try to be the celebrity. I think that way is like pride goeth before the fall territory. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not even going to change a whole lot about what's going on. I guess if there's anybody who is out there wondering whether or not I was ever going to make a real concerted effort, a real focused push to become the next, I guess, Northern Lion style channel, I don't think I should, and I don't think I'm gonna, and I think in doing so we can actually have a little more fun here, because I'll be less stressed out about getting content up, because this is a stressful job. Technically, if you're doing this right, there's never a day off. If you're BizSnap or NL or Bear Taffy or Omrecker, all the guys basically that I watch, if you do this correctly, there's never a day off. You have to have new content up every day, at least once a day, and that means probably between 4 and 6 hours of recording and editing video content and making it interesting and fresh every single time, or at least as many times in a row as humanly possible. And that's hard. That's time consuming and really a mental drain. And I appreciated people who did this long before I started doing it. because I thought it was difficult, and because I thought it was intriguing, and because I was so impressed with the people who already did it. That's why I started doing it, was because I was impressed by people whom I knew put in crazy amounts of effort. I can't believe that's not the secret room. Maybe here? Nope, I'm gonna find it. I've got enough bombs. So yeah, the only downside to all this is that I'm sad that I don't watch the content on the channel I helped found anymore. And that's not a statement on Rob. That's not a blanket criticism on the content he produces. I still think it's some of the best content on YouTube for what it is. And if he went back to the old school days of passive aggression and Call of Duty, I probably still wouldn't watch him, because it's different content than what I enjoy watching right now. What I enjoy watching is the stuff that I play, and the reason that I started making content was because we didn't have anything that represented me on the channel, and so I came over here just because, well, initially I thought this would be where Rob's non-Minecraft gameplay landed, but I don't think that's going to pan out either, so there's really even less incentive for me to go absolutely hog wild trying to turn this into a financially successful channel, which, you know, for the MrWoofless channel, it took me 3 years of every waking moment that I wasn't at my table waiting job, coming home and basically ignoring my wife and kids so that I could focus with Rob on how to better situate ourselves for success. And you know, we're finally in a place where it feels like that hard work and commitment is probably going to pay off. I don't know that I have a second run of that in me. I don't know that I have it in me to push that through a second time. It's hard. And oh man, I could hear the angel room open up. That stinks because I can't get to it. I'm gonna take the shot speed up just for the card. I was hoping it was like a teleport of some kind. That's fine. I'll roll with the 2 of hearts. So anyway, I don't know. It was just kind of a brief revelation that I had that I wanted to share with everybody. I will continue to try to mix up content. I still think I might do FTL. I bought a couple of new white knuckle games. I know that there are some people that are still wondering about Don't Starve and Sir, You're Being Hunted. Sir, You're Being Hunted, I'm going to give it another episode or 2, and then I might phase that one out a little bit. And it's not out of any sort of malice or anything. It's just that for the number of views that it gets and the amount that I enjoy playing it, I probably enjoy playing that one least of all the games that are in the rotation right now. I still have Risk of Rain, which I need to sit down and play. I'm still enjoying playing Hearthstone. That one's a situation where it's you know, an example of a game where I'm getting miserable views, and it doesn't matter because I enjoy playing it. So I'll post, you know, mediocre Hearthstone content, and hopefully some people will watch, but even if they don't, it's a game I'm gonna play anyway. So, you know, some videos will show up, and for those of you who enjoy that particular game, that obviously is not going anywhere, but, you know, yeah, I don't know, it's gonna be lax. I'm gonna chill out a little bit, so take some of the weight off my shoulders and focus all that pressure and anxiety where it really belongs, which is trying to convince people that they should continue paying Rob to be Rob. You know, you want to talk about a tough sell. You're talking to a grown-ass man who doesn't even much like Minecraft, being forced to sell Minecraft. Get away from me. I kid. But yeah, you know, that's where my priorities are, and it's super exciting, and it's a lot of fun, and I don't want to. Holy shit, I'm just now stopping to realize we are doing a metric butt ton of damage. Anyway, it was just a thought that I had. So, you know, if you're here and you're just being a denizen for the sake of being a denizen, and you just like the little family that we've put together, that's cool. If you're here because you want to be hipster and say you knew me when before I become some huge YouTube sensation, I wouldn't hold my breath, man, because that's no longer if that were to happen, that would be great, but it's no longer on my agenda of things that I need to accomplish with this channel and with the Twitch stream, especially now that I'm not using them to promote Rob. I mean, both of these were spawned out of a desire to provide Rob with a place to play non-Minecraft games, and a place to, well, the place to stream was for me because I just love playing The Binding of Isaac for people. Holy crap, our split shot managed to toast both those guys off. I'm gonna go ahead and peek in here. What the hell? I still would love the ability to fly, or to go straight to the deal with the Angels room to pick up Scapular was what I was gonna say. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. I just had a moment of revelation right before I flew out to Montreal to do work with Rob for a couple of days. You know, if I disappeared for a day or two, I didn't want you to think, man, Taffy's not gonna accomplish his goals if he keeps chasing, you know, chasing it this way. I don't know. I didn't want you guys to think that I didn't care or that I was tripping or slipping or whatever. I'm working just as hard, but I don't know that I'll be... There will never come a time where this channel will come before what Rob and I are trying to build. And I didn't want that to ever come off to you guys. Like, when I'm in Montreal, obviously there's not going to be streams. And I just didn't want you guys to think that I had lost sight of what was important or anything like that, or that I didn't care about the people that were supporting me here. But I gotta put, you know, my family, I'm gonna try my best to put my family first, and my family also includes Rob, and if Rob's successful, then we're happy and successful, and, I don't know, I'm thinking out loud here. It's just been a wild couple of days. I haven't used the Book of Belial for freaking ever, but that's probably, there's a reason for that. Loki, why are you so, like, why are you so wily? There we go. Well, we've been in there. We know exactly what was in there. It was Scapular. Yeah, I was just thinking out loud. I was taking a lot of the stress off myself, recognizing that I don't want to be beating myself up when there are bigger things going on. And I know that some of this is like super disappointing to people, because I know that some people flat out prefer me to Rob. That's not a slight on him. There are certainly, obviously, tens of thousands of people who prefer Rob to me, but I know that there was a very vocal minority in the old PA days when Rob and I were on the same channel, that you know, actively preferred me over Rob. Wow, look at that. Are you serious? Actively preferred me over Rob, and they were, you know, super excited that there was going to be a place where I was going to try to establish myself. So, but that said, you know, I was never in the spotlight. I don't belong in the spotlight. I'm a much better wingman than I am front and center, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm certainly grateful for the people who enjoy my commentary and content, but I don't want to ever delude myself into thinking that I'm something more than I am on this particular plane of existence. And I think that the sooner I can, you know, rein that in and put that into perspective, the faster I can get truly rolling on things that I can both accomplish and oh wow, I didn't even see him get through the shots. I can really excel on and get things going on the things that I not only can accomplish but will probably be quite exceptional. Wow. I so desperately want that to be another item we can pick up. Anyway, I know that's a tangent that seems to be out of nowhere, but I don't even want the hearts pill, the 2 of hearts. I don't know. It was on my mind. I was sitting here thinking, man, I gotta find something to replace the Stanley Parable, or else I'm a bad YouTuber. And I've got ideas and I've got stuff. I just have but so many hours in the day between, you know, being a family man and taking care of what I'm supposed to take care of. Ironically enough, still on YouTube, you know. I don't know, and I felt obliged to sort of clue you guys in on that. So it's just me being kind of realistic with both myself and my circumstances. You know, and I wanted to talk about it with the people that are proud supporters of this part of the internet world. So I guess that's really all I had to say about that. This is a crazy run. You know, now that the sort of responsible, grown-up, chatty stuff is out of the way. Yeah, we are doing monster work on this run. Okay. I couldn't hit that turret to save my life, and then that one finally got a shot in on me. Yeah, anyway. Still gonna try to do challenge runs were another thing about it too, where I was just like, oh, now I've obligated myself to go through and do all these searches on challenge runs, and I have to do it now because I said I would. You know, no matter how much time it takes up, I have to go find those and program them in, and all that kind of stuff, and I have to stick to like a regular schedule of, okay, well, this day is a challenge run and this day is not a challenge run, and ultimately I think I'm just going to do a better job of forgiving myself if things are a little more sporadic, and know that the folks that stick around are the ones who are going to stick around through thick and thin anyway, and those who don't aren't making an active judgment on me as a human being, but are basically just saying, well, you know, I prefer to get this style of content from the people who are doing this style of content, like, you know, the Bear Tappies and Ohm Records of the world. I don't blame you. So those are the channels I watch. So yeah, I don't know. Just a thought. I felt like it was something that I wanted to make sure was super clear, and it was one of those things where, you know, you're saying it to convince yourself as much as anyone else. So yeah, I was just really sweating some missed uploads this week and some stressful recording times because I was in late night Skype conversations planning this trip to Montreal and trying to be a good business manager, and yeah, I was really beating myself up about not having 36-hour days to exist on, and I finally just reached a point where I basically just had to let that go. Jesus Christ, just be dead. I mean, I'm starting to realize, too, that we're really lucky to have this much spirit heart health, because I think we're going to take a bit of a beating. I can't believe we've never had any real opportunity to pick up a flying item. Oh, come on, that shot went through him. Fuck you, Greed. Yeah, who's got 3 defensive orbitals and Polyphemus with a bunch of shot upgrades? Because I think it's this guy who hates your fucking guts. I'd take it on the chin, whatever. Just want you in the ground, Greed. It's been a remarkably powerful run. Pretty fly. Probably shouldn't have put myself in harm's way for that. I'll use the devil on the Isaac fight. This is it's been kind of a cakewalk, but at least it hasn't been in like a mom's knife sort of way. Ability to fly, I feel like really cinches it up. Gotta get a new car. That's another thing too, is like, I was telling Rob that having a family just feels like a really expensive way to own nothing nice. Like, between Grayson peeing in that AV, that $600 home theater AV unit that I had, and Amber being in 2 accidents this month. And it's only going to get worse with A, the addition of a second child, and B, like school supplies and back to school clothes shopping and stuff like that. I was just starting to realize, like, man, deciding that you want to have a family is basically just deciding that you want to spend a lot of money to not own anything nice for a very long time. Which is tough for me, because I'm a person who I'm getting better about not being the kind of person who needs material goods to define who they are. And yet, that said, for a really long time, I didn't define my happiness based on stuff that I own. But man, how do I say it? I relished being able to own nice stuff. Like, I didn't completely define myself on it. I just want them. Two's good. I didn't completely define myself based on material possessions, but I also don't want to sit here and pretend like I didn't super envy like the mini boss. I have been incredibly envious in many chunks of my life of people who could afford super nice things. Like, as I was working, doing audio video installations for a while, like 3 months of my life, doing like high-end, low voltage and audio video cable installation, I would be in these like $400,000, $500,000 houses installing home theater systems, you know, before they put up the drywall, like houses being built from scratch. And so these gigantic, huge, spacious, open floor plans, at like $10 an hour, installing these $15,000 home theater systems for the super wealthy, or not the super wealthy, but the pretty wealthy. And you know, when I was a theater intern, I was in Sun Valley, Idaho, you know, hanging out with the kinds of people who could afford to buy houses in the area where Bruce Willis and Demi Moore had their houses. And so I've grown up poor and very jealous of people who could afford nice things, but I've also worked really hard to come to a place where I don't want to, nor do I have to, define myself by the price of my belongings. But it took me a while to get to that place. So yeah, you know, I'm obviously, I guess the whole point of saying that was to say, families may be expensive and you may not be able to own anything nice, but it's not as though I would trade that in order to, you know, I wouldn't trade having my son and having my wife around just so I could have a nice home theater system. I think they've probably made a couple of after-school specials or made-for-TV movies with that kind of moral philosophy and moral lecture on the end. But you know, I mean it. It's from the heart, even if it's a little bit trite. Oh my God, these nasty whores, man! Come at me, bro. Just sit here and tank this on the chin. Speed up, finally. Yeah, it's actually really funny. I should get that after that fight. Second verse, same as the first. It may get better. It'll probably get worse. So yeah, you know, once I was sure that everyone was fine from this car accident, then you know, I started to worry about the fact that I was like, man, now I got to pay to replace this car, and excuse me, another speed up, which is really ironic. Yeah, and I'm obviously not going to make a ton of money off of the cave and off of streaming, where I literally make $0. And you know, I don't want the fun part of what I do to be about the money. If I wanted to sweat that, then I would go super hard full time on this and not help Rob. But you know, Rob and I have sunk a shitload of time into the MrWoofless channel so that one day it would pay off, and it's finally starting to pay dividends. And you know, I'm gonna work hard and continue to work hard to reap that. Is it just me, or has this been a ridiculously tough chest so far? Like, I feel like this is not one of those situations where we get like six really easy horsemen fight. Where are my horsemen fight? Yeah, it's just, yeah, man, the last couple of days of just listening to people like Ohm and Total Biscuit and BizSnap, and well, I mean, BizSnap has been talking to me in Skype about it, but like listening to these guys try to figure out the lay of the land with this new YouTube format has just been, it's been stressful for me to hear, and it doesn't really even affect me directly, which is crazy talk. I'm gonna take this just because, oh no, I'm not. I'll just set it down. So yeah, anyway, anywho. I don't like this fight. We have taken a redonkulous amount of damage on this floor, considering how much we're shelling out. Like, this would have been a nightmare of a floor if we had been like but mere Isaac mortals. If we had to like worry about not having a recalculous amount of health. Oh, see what I mean? Like, we would have probably died several times over if we just had a normal amount of health. Those super lust rooms would have been the end of us. Fortunately, we've gotten like every non-stereotypical overpowered item in the game all kind of in a row. There we go. I'm bummed all my TV shows are basically off the air until January. Anything that I enjoy watching seems to have closed up shop. Walking Dead. American Horror Story doesn't come back till January 8th. That's a bummer. That's fine though. Between Christmas and getting ready to leave for Montreal, it's not like I don't have anything to do to fill up my time in the meanwhile. Montreal's gonna be fun, man. I'm really looking forward to that. That said, there's just so much to get accomplished between now and then, because I would like to have uploads like left behind for you guys so that there's something playing on the channel. I don't want to use this as a cop-out to be like, yeah, now I post once every 7 days. There's still something to be said for, you know, taking pride in your work just because you simply take pride in your work. I'd like to think that I'm one of those guys that likes to do things well just because I don't ever want my name attached to a faulty product, which is why I've backed Rob for so long. It's just because he did better work than damn near anyone else around. All right, cool. so that I don't have to continue to pay Rob compliments, we can go ahead and fight Blue Baby and get the hell out of here. Well, this was a fun run. If a little bit simple, mechanically simple. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm not going to take overpowered items when they present themselves. It's another thing where you have a run where every item is essentially overpowered. We didn't see a whole lot of crap items altogether. I mean, Parasite's a little in the middle, and some of our chest items sucked. But other than that, everything else was like, every item we got was a massive upgrade. That's the first hit of damage we've taken. I'm going to lay the hearts on the ground just because I want to feel like I did everything I could in my power to survive and win this game. Ow. Even Demon Baby's putting in the work. I don't know why I'm not just tanking this on the chin. We still can't even see the spirit hearts that we have on the screen. And I'm going to assure that by taking this one. We'll let Demon Baby wrap it up. Anyway, Victory Lap. If you're looking for Don't Starve, I'll get an episode up this week. If you're looking for Sir, You're Being Hunted, I'll get an episode up this week. I'm going to try to start a new White Knuckle and maybe Risk of Rain or FTL. But like I said, man, this is all kind of contingent on where the windows in time are and how ambitious I can make myself for the channel and the stream. But no, I love you guys. I'm going to try to hold it all together and get it all done at the same time. But anyway, I just felt like I needed to have a heart-to-heart. Feedback is welcome in the comments section. Yeah, and you know, here we are. We kicked ass on that run. So I'm streaming in a little bit, so I hope to see you guys there. And yeah, on behalf of the MrWoofless channel in the cave, thank you for tuning in. My name is Taffy, and I am out.